This is my first live of January 2023. So here we are in the new year, almost halfway through. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it feels like time is going by faster. I just wanted to mention two things that I see happening quite a lot with patients. And one of the things, and the context can be different. So this is what happened this week. It came up. So I have a patient who wants to have her second child, and it was a little bit rough the first time around for her conceiving. And so what's really important to remember is you're not the same person that you were 2 years ago. So if you had difficulty, say, in the past, whether it was with conceiving or the other concept that this comes up with a lot is with mental health. So many times people want to come off medication and it didn't go well the first time, for example. So what you always want to remember is you're not the same person. And if you are doing something different, like now adding a naturopathic doctor to your healthcare team, the whole environment of your body is going to be different. The terrain of your body is going to be different than it was in the past. So by virtue of that, deductively, we can then hopefully assume that you're going to have a different experience this time around. So if you're somebody who, wants to conceive, or you're somebody who, actually the other thing that this comes up as well is in this context with this patient that I'm referring to was also some fears and concerns around postpartum issues. So postpartum, I think as a society, we're not doing a very good job setting women up for success in the postpartum period, partly because women aren't being supported in this whole concept of it takes a village. And not to mention that we've just come through this whole pandemic where we've been isolated and separated, and it's been really difficult for people. So, but in the context of, again, you're not the same person that you were. If your previous pregnancy was difficult, you had a hard time conceiving, and then you had a hard time in your pregnancy, and then a hard time in labor and delivery, and then a hard time in the postpartum period, and you weren't seeing a naturopathic doctor, then I know from all the work that I've done with women over the last 17 years that if we can set you up for success this time round, because we're going to be doing things differently. And I support women through each trimester, and I'm supporting them not only before they conceive, which is a whole other trimester that nobody talks about. There's really 5 trimesters. There's the preconception phase where we're getting your body ready, we're laying the terrain, the foundation, balancing your hormones, getting you as healthy as we can for you to conceive. Then there's the 3 trimesters of pregnancy where each trimester we're supporting you so you don't become deficient in the process. Many women become depleted because the primary support, if you will, like all the nutrients and the primary, like you become a second-class citizen when you're pregnant, in a sense, in your own body, because the priority is the baby. So we're wanting to make sure that you make a healthy baby, absolutely. But we also want to make sure that you're not becoming depleted in the process. Because if you become depleted in the process, then guess what? Your postpartum period isn't going to be as joyous as it could be. And so I think that we could be doing a far better job supporting women than we are. So I've seen a lot of increase in postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. And another thing that we don't talk about, and this happened to me, and I don't talk about it much, so perhaps I'll have to start talking about it, is also postpartum psychosis. And that's another thing. There's a good documentary. I'm not sure if it's still around. It's called When the Bough Breaks. It's a documentary. It is it is a little hard to watch. I know for me, because of my experiences, I did find it a little hard to watch, but I think it's super important for everybody to watch. So I don't know if that's still available on Netflix or anything, or YouTube maybe. But anyway, I wanted to just mention these few things, that you're not the same person. And if you haven't changed anything in your life, and say you want to conceive or you want to come off an antidepressant, and you haven't changed anything, then what makes you think that experience is actually going to be different for you if you haven't made any changes? So when you start working with a naturopathic doctor, you are going to be changing the terrain, the environment, the soil of your body. So that's a good thing. And remember, you're not the same in any given day. You're always turning over new cells. So if you give your body something different to work with, be it nutritionally, environmentally, like removing plastics or chemicals from your environment, taking supplements, restoring hormone balance, then you're going to have a different experience. So that's what I want for you. And I will just stop there. And I think I'll talk more next week. I'm trying to do these lives weekly. So I'm going to talk more next week about this whole coming off antidepressants or anti-anxiolytics or medications, because a lot of people have misconceptions around that, and how to go about that as well. So what I will say is that medications and some of these, they're necessary perhaps to help you get out of a really difficult situation that you might be in. But that situation can change. And so once that situation changes, then we want to revisit the need perhaps for the medication. Because my doctor that I saw, Dr. Abraham Hoffer, he looked at these psychotropic medications like you would look at a cast for a broken leg. So if you break your leg, you're not going to wear that cast for the rest of your life, I hope, right? Your leg is going to mend, the bone is going to re-knit itself, or it's going to heal, and you're not going to need that cast. So that's an analogy for how we can look at these medications as well. Once we get you feeling better, and the circumstances and the situation, whether it's looking at the nutrition side, the hormones, there's an explanation for what you're going through. And then once perhaps that has passed in you, the storm or the situation, then we want to ask the question, well, do I really need this support anymore? So that's what I'll leave you with.